The WNBA just got caught red-handed, and this time there's no spin doctor on earth who can clean this mess up. In less than 24 hours, one of the biggest leagues in American sports was forced to quietly delete a call they never wanted anyone to notice. But fans noticed. They always notice. And once the internet started pulling up the tape frame by frame, the league's entire story fell apart in real time. Stick around, because by the end of this video you'll understand exactly why millions of people think Caitlin Clark is being treated differently than anyone else on that court, and why league officials are running out of ways to explain it. Welcome back to WNBA Analysis. If you're new here, this is the channel where we break down everything happening in women's basketball, the calls, the controversies, the storylines nobody else wants to touch. Today we're diving into the technical foul heard around the internet, and trust me, this one goes a lot deeper than a single blown call. Right now, the WNBA's media machine is scrambling to control a story that refuses to die down. And fans everywhere are noticing exactly why. Caitlin Clark, the single biggest draw this league has ever had, keeps taking hit after hit on the court while officials seem to look the other way, over and over again. Month after month, the frustration among her supporters has only gotten louder, and this latest incident poured gasoline on a fire that was already burning. Just a few weeks before this whole controversy, cameras caught Clark getting fouled and then struck across the throat during a live game, the kind of contact that genuinely could have caused serious injury. At the time, that clip alone sparked outrage. But it turns out that was only the beginning. Sharp-eyed fans dug in, and what they found wasn't pretty. A pattern of hard fouls, questionable calls, and a media cycle that seemed determined to look the other way. Now league officials are stuck, and so far they don't have a good answer. Here's how it all unfolded. During a fever game, Indiana's Sophie Cunningham drove hard toward the rim and took a hit across the face and neck. It was ruled a flagrant foul, and the player responsible, Chicago's Kahlia Copper, was ejected on the spot. That part of the story, most people agree, was handled correctly. But then came the moment that really lit the fuse. The league tried to bench its single biggest star with a suspension nobody saw coming, and fans were not having it. To understand why the internet exploded, you have to rewind to what actually happened on the court. Caitlin Clark picked up her 8th technical foul of the season. In this league, that number matters because 8 technicals trigger an automatic one-game suspension. And wouldn't you know it, that suspension would have knocked her out of Indiana's marquee matchup against the New York Liberty. According to the explanation given to the Fever during the game, officials felt Clark put a little extra force into a forearm bump with a referee in the third quarter. Nothing dramatic on paper. But the second fans and analysts pulled up the replay, the story completely fell apart. No push. No elbow. Not one word out of line. Just the kind of ordinary contact that happens a dozen times a night in every single game across the league. Panic doesn't even begin to describe what reportedly happened inside WNBA headquarters. In under 24 hours, the league was forced to reverse its own call, and the reason why is something fans simply refused to let slide. The technical was quietly wiped off the books completely. This wasn't some harmless clerical slip-up. To a huge chunk of the fan base, it was proof of something they'd been saying for months, that Caitlin Clark plays under a level of scrutiny no other player in this league has to deal with. Every breath, every gesture, every accidental bump gets picked apart like she's committing a crime, while opponents seem to get away with far more physical play. Even commentators covering the story seemed confused by how messy it had become. One analyst pointed out that if Clark says she didn't say anything to the official, and the referee insists she did, you're stuck in a he said, she said situation with no clear evidence either way. And if the technical was really based on a forceful push-off, then logically the league had no choice but to erase it, because slow-motion replay showed nothing resembling a punishable act. The league moves fast to blow the whistle on Clark for the smallest, most harmless interactions. But when it comes to actual dangerous physical plays directed at her, some fans feel officials suddenly go quiet. Neat proof, according to critics? Rewind just a few weeks earlier. During a fever-fast break, Sophie Cunningham drove hard toward the basket, and Chicago's DeWanna Carrington delivered a hit straight across her face and neck. Cunningham hit the floor bleeding from the mouth. To their credit, Officials didn't hesitate that time. They reviewed it, called a flagrant 2, and ejected Carrington on the spot. But according to fans who've been tracking the season closely, that hit didn't happen in a vacuum. They say it fits into a pattern of dangerous, uncalled physicality aimed at Indiana's stars, especially Clark, who has absorbed shots to the throat and other reckless contact that never even drew a whistle. And here's where the conversation gets uncomfortable for a lot of people. Some commentators argue this goes beyond basketball entirely. One analyst bluntly said the targeting of Clark has nothing to do with her taking political sides, since she hasn't publicly weighed in on the league's bigger cultural debates. In their view, her only offense, as they put it, was being extremely talented on a team that's now must-watch television, a claim that sparked plenty of heated back and forth online, with just as many voices pushing back and calling that framing unfair or overly simplistic. What really turned this into a full-blown controversy wasn't the foul itself, it was what happened right after. The moment Carrington was ejected and walked toward the locker room, she posted 2 words on social media, tagging the Indiana Fever directly. That post lit up the basketball world within minutes. Cunningham didn't stay quiet either. She fired back publicly, pointing out that she herself had been ejected for a similar play the year before and fully accepted the call. No excuses, no outside narrative attached, just basketball. That's when things got really telling for a lot of viewers. Instead of the conversation staying focused on a genuinely dangerous, non-basketball hit that left an opponent bloodied, the entire storyline flipped overnight into something much bigger and far more divisive. Fans weren't buying the redirection. People started digging, pulling old social posts, comparing officiating patterns, and reviewing past league discipline decisions. And what a lot of them found, in their view, exposed a much bigger issue, what they see as an inconsistent standard in how the league and its media partners handle player conduct depending on who's involved. For example, when Liberty head coach Sandy Brondello made a fairly mild off-the-cuff comment about officiating and player protection, she was suspended almost immediately. So naturally, fans started asking the obvious question. If that's the standard for a passing comment, shouldn't a dangerous hit to the head, followed by a public accusation online, warrant at least the same level of scrutiny? Instead, according to critics, major sports networks tiptoed around the incident, with some analysts framing the hit as a routine basketball play, conveniently glossing over, in their view, the fact that the contact was well above the neck and shoulders. Fans didn't hold back pointing out what they saw as an obvious double standard, with several arguing that if the roles were reversed, the outcome and public reaction would have looked very different. Through every bit of this chaos, the controversy, the media spin, the endless online arguments, one constant hasn't changed. Caitlin Clark remains, by a wide margin, the single biggest reason this league is thriving right now. Despite being one of the most physically tested players on the floor, despite absorbing hit after hit that never drew a whistle, her performance has stayed nothing short of remarkable. If a player delivers a hit to the throat like the one Clark took weeks earlier, many argue a small fine and a flagrant designation simply isn't enough. That kind of contact deserves real, meaningful consequences. Clark continues running the floor with elite vision, deep shooting range, and the kind of competitive fire that's turned the Indiana Fever into legitimate title contenders. And let's be honest about something. Millions of fans aren't tuning in every week because they're fascinated by front office drama or social media feuds. They're tuning in because Caitlin Clark has fundamentally changed what women's basketball looks like on a national stage. The Fever currently sit at the top of the Eastern Conference, with Angel Reese's Atlanta Dream trailing close behind. And plenty of fans believe the roots of this entire storyline trace back even further, to the Clark-Reese rivalry that first exploded during their college years, a rivalry that some believe still carries undertones the league has never fully addressed head-on. Here's the part league leadership doesn't seem eager to say out loud. This isn't just about one bad headline anymore. It's about the fact that fans have largely stopped buying the polished corporate talking points. Commissioner Cathy Engelbert and the rest of league leadership are learning the hard way that you can't build a booming, multi-million-dollar media business almost entirely around one superstar's popularity while a large portion of your fanbase feels the playing field around her isn't level. It doesn't help optics that the league recently announced a task force made up of team presidents and general managers to hold listening sessions on eligibility policy, a move critics were quick to call out as ironic, given how much the league's own marketing leans on very specific messaging. Even the players' union felt the need to step in, releasing a public statement making clear that athletes don't want to be turned into political pawns. The statement urged fans to keep supporting players at games, to report any hateful or abusive behavior witnessed in arenas, and to actively push back against bad faith accounts spreading toxicity online, a message that, frankly, this channel fully supports. And here's the part that really matters. None of the record-breaking ticket sales, viewership spikes, or broadcast numbers this season are happening because of league politics or controversy. They're happening because basketball fans genuinely love watching elite-level competition powered by generational talents like Clark. So when league officials try quietly suspending their biggest draw over what turned out to be a phantom technical, while facing accusations of turning a blind eye to legitimate dangerous plays against her, they're not protecting some carefully built narrative. In the eyes of a lot of fans, they're actively damaging their own product from the inside. Let's rewind one more time to where this whole thing started. That eighth technical from the third quarter, later confirmed and formally rescinded by the league. That call would have sidelined Clark for the massive showdown against the Liberty. The official explanation given to the Fever during the game was that officials believed Clark used too much force brushing against a referee's forearm. Once fans pulled up the footage themselves, that explanation completely fell apart. And no amount of careful PR language or quiet closed-door league meetings can undo what millions of fans have already watched with their own eyes, frame by frame. Time and time again, Caitlin Clark has proven that her talent and resilience outlast every obstacle thrown her way, whether that's aggressive defenders, questionable officiating, or a media cycle that some feel is determined to protect anyone standing in her way. The narrative is officially shifting, and fans are no longer willing to sit back quietly while corporate spin tries to rewrite what actually happened on the court. The league is learning fast that in the era of instant replay and millions of amateur analysts armed with slow-motion footage, you simply can't hide from the receipts anymore. So now it's your turn. What's your honest, unfiltered take on the league reversing Clark's technical foul? Do you genuinely believe hard fouls and off-court comments are being handled fairly across the board? Or is there a real double standard playing out right in front of us? Drop your thoughts down in the comments, because this conversation is far from over, and I read every single one of them. Look, I make these breakdowns because I care about this league having a fair, honest future, and honestly, this channel only grows because of people like you who care enough to watch till the end. If this video meant something to you, if it made you feel even a little bit seen in wanting real accountability in women's basketball, please take 2 seconds and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel more than you know. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to WNBA Analysis and turn on notifications. I promise you, breakdowns like this one are only going to keep coming as the season heats up, and I don't want you to miss a single one. This community means everything to me, and every subscriber makes it possible for me to keep digging into the stories the big networks won't touch. Thank you so much for watching and for being here. We'll see you in the next one.